Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Putman.
And I'm James Ferrara. Mike, we don't have a fanfare. Dun, 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 dun,
I
dun.
just
Can
realized
we?
I said good afternoon, and it might not be afternoon where someone's listening to this. That was presumptuous of myself. It's afternoon here recording, but
I want a theme song. I think that our producer, Nathaniel, has been laying down on the job. We need a theme song. Um, makes us feel important when we start off the podcast. Anyway, great to be here with everyone. We've been a bit spotty lately. I'll apologize up front, but this is big travel season for Mike and I both. There are a tremendous amount of industry events, and it's going to get even a little worse over the next couple of weeks. So we have designed a way to keep coming to you as much as possible every week. If I'm out, Mike may have a guest co-host. If Mike is out, I'll have a guest co-host. We're trying not to miss too many weekly podcasts with you.
it is going to be a choppy summer for production. I will say that, but we're going to do our best to try to keep some consistency with you guys and stay in front with some fresh content. We've got some great guests coming up, as a matter of fact. Um, I'm really excited about that.
We do coming up in the schedule for this summer, and we still have our giveaway, our free cruise for two giveaway in a balcony cabin on a beautiful luxury cruise line to Alaska we have established. And the last piece of that we're holding on to, which is who is giving that cruise away, which cruise line. And so we want you to take this time to go to our website, notouristallowed.com, look at the giveaway tab there, and do any number of those things, sign up for the newsletter, any number of the things that are listed there to get yourself entered multiple times for the cruise. The more times you enter, the better your chance of winning. And we'll be making that selection in the next couple of weeks.
But also, the more times you tell your friends to enter, the less chance you have of winning. So it's kind of a
Oh, don't point that out, Mike.
yeah, yeah.
Well, look,
Oh
this is
boy.
pretty easy to win. This is not like, Reader's Digest and you're one in 50 million or where you have to sign up for the car giveaway in the mall. This is like, you're going to be one of a couple of thousand. Your chances are pretty good here.
And this is a multi-thousand-dollar value. So, I mean, it could be if those numbers were correct, and let's say the cruise was worth $8,000, and I'm just making up a number at this point because there's some details yet to be given. And if there were 2,000 registrants, each register would be worth equivalent of $4. So make some money and go register for the sweepstakes. We'd love to send you on a luxurious cabin cruise to Alaska in a luxurious cabin.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, we've got some news we want to share with everyone. And maybe we could start out with one that's close to your heart, or should I say close to your stomach?
Close to both, as a matter of fact. Yeah. So good. There's some good news and bad news in the travel publication space. Good news is Michelin is expanding their reach. So um, the Michelin guides, which by the way are published in South Carolina, in Greenville and Spartanburg, South Carolina, where I live, which is their corporate headquarters for North America. Um, but they have decided to expand into more of a regional approach. So before there would have been a Michelin guide for Germany, a Michelin guide for the US, a Michelin guide for Italy, et cetera, et cetera. And now they're breaking down the US into regions and allowing different regions to participate and have their restaurants reviewed. So for the longest time in South Carolina, where we've got, notably Travel and Leisure, I believe, or Condé Nast, one of the two, has said that Charleston has 3 of the top 10 restaurants in the country in South Carolina, but yet we do not have a restaurant with a single Michelin star. And there's probably, I don't know, James, what, 175 Michelin starred restaurants in the US, something like that. So they're expanding that. which is great news because it's going to give us the ability to talk about restaurants without necessarily going there, being able to read reviews from an unbiased organization that's been doing this for decades.
Yeah, these are professional reviews too, right, Mike? So unlike some of you may be familiar with Zagat guides or online, what is it, the one that everyone goes to for reviews, or even Google reviews and so on,
Oh,
Open Table
Open
or
Table, yeah, Open Table.
all of that. Those are reviews by other diners, right? Who may or may not know what they're talking about. But the thing about Michelin Guide, to be a little snooty about it, is that these are professional reviewers. And so Michelin Guides, particularly in Europe, have always been considered like uh, the bar. And 1 star sounds low, but actually to have 1 star from it, most restaurants just get ignored by Michelin, right? But to have 1 star is a really big deal. To have 2 stars makes you, amongst the best restaurants in the world, and 3 stars is only a handful.
Yep. Yep. Right. And the difference in a one-star restaurant, it's funny because people say, I went to this five-star restaurant. Well, according to Michelin, there's no such thing as a five-star restaurant. 3 stars is the top. But a one-star restaurant would typically, it, it would be super, super fine dining. And again, there's not even one in South Carolina that's been rated. And there might be, and I don't know, in the US, 40 or 50 that are one-star Michelin restaurants, something like that. Um, but anyhow, here's the downside. So that's all the good side is that there's going to be more guides coming out. The downside is that it has come to the attentions and been reported that Michelin is requiring these local tourism boards or local areas to fund or provide payment for a guide to be produced for a given locale. So if you are a certain section of the country or a state, maybe, and you don't pay, then you get left out of the guide.
This is pay to play. This is like, well, for a guy from New Jersey, this is not surprising. This is how we do our politics in New Jersey.
But it does. But just to make a point of clarity here, because I'm a big fan of Michelin and the Michelin guides, is your restaurant doesn't become noted or rate or even looked at by paying. But the region in which you live in, such as an example, the state of South Carolina paid a fee of several $100,000 to Michelin in order to have the guide review restaurants in South Carolina.
But the reviews are real.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
reviews still have integrity. The individual restaurant is not paying to get a star rating. It's just there might not be a guide at all for that state or for that area if the tourist board didn't pay Michelin some money.
yeah, and that's the way it's been. I mean, Florida doesn't have any Michelin starred restaurants. I don't think Georgia does. South Carolina doesn't. And because there's only a few of these inspectors or raters, they typically go to larger cities: New York, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, and even some large cities they don't go to. So this is going to expand the breadth of those guides, which again I'm looking forward to. I just feel a little, I don't know, it just felt a little salty for them to ask the
Yeah. So it's a bit of a scandal. It really is.
yeah.
And the one thing I do like about Michelin, though, is they are not snooty in that not all of the starred restaurants are expensive, fine dining, traditional. They do actually give stars to restaurants that are an excellent expression of the culture and provide a great experience of one kind or another. Sometimes it's like almost street food. Like there's a good mix of different types of restaurants, but you can be guaranteed that the food will be great and the experience will be memorable. That's really what it's about. And I think that's important to our message here at No Tourists Allowed. Because what I hate to see, and I know you feel the same way, Mike, is when people travel and they pick chain restaurants, or they go to restaurants that are sort of corporate and could be sort of anywhere, and have no sense of place, no sense of culture, nothing unique and idiosyncratic and memorable about them. And I see that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually I went to a, hawker stand, which is street food that is served in Singapore. They have these galleries that are called hawker, uh, galleries or hawker stations, which are made up of these very small individual restaurants that are kinda like in a flea market almost. And one of those stands actually, received a Michelin award and, so a one-star award, and they served chicken and rice. That was their dish, and that's what they're known for, but it's maybe the best chicken and rice on the planet, I don't know, but it was certainly very good, and to your point, it was maybe $4 for the chicken and rice plate or 4.50. It was not very much. Um, but yeah, they do have an interesting take, and they're looking for quality of food and, quality of experience as well.
You can avoid that mistake when you travel with just a little effort, just a little creativity. Get online, do some research, try to find places you've never heard of, restaurants you've never heard of, that are not part of a big national chain, that don't all look the same no matter what city you're in, that really have something interesting about them, in addition to having good food ratings, right? And you can do that. I've talked about this before, but one of my tricks is if I'm going to a particular city, I you can't search for, like, best restaurants in Boston because you're gonna get a lot of paid content. It's essentially advertising, and you can't really evaluate whether or not this is a real review, you know? What I do is I go to the big newspaper from that town. So I'll put in my search, Boston Globe, uh, best new restaurants 2025. And I'll come up with articles written by the local reporters for that paper. And those are real tips and real reviews. And I often find great restaurants that way. That's one way to do it. And I'll give you an example. I was just in Boston. Let's use Boston. I was in Boston last weekend, and there are, you know, the usual uh, chains, and a lot of them are associated with malls, which really drives me crazy. I do not want to eat my dinner at a mall restaurant. So you get, I'm going to name them. I'll probably get sued. Uh, Eddie V's is a big one these days, and it purports to be fine dining, and it kind of looks a little like fine dining, but the service is kind of amateurish, and the food is mediocre. It's very expensive, and they're always in malls. It's a chain. You're getting, if you walk in there, you sort of deserve what you get. But you can look for more interesting things. Sometimes they're even associated with chains. I'll give you an example. The Chart House has a restaurant, and they have restaurants in coastal cities all around the country. Of course, they have one in Boston, but it happens to be in an 18th century building, a warehouse, a brick, beautiful historic building that was John Hancock's office out on the wharf. And you could still see his safe in the wall. And so there's a little bit of local history and culture involved in the restaurant. It's localish food. So if you feel more comfortable sticking with a chain like Chart House, at least you can do that, make it a little more interesting. I remember in San Diego, Chart House is in the old um, rowing club boathouse. So the architecture is interesting. I also went to a Ruth's Chris in Boston. It's, oh, another chain, another steakhouse, how boring. But in fact, it's in the old city hall, which until 1969, I think, was the city hall, to the 19th century building. So you're having dinner in this really cool space, this palatial space. So that makes it more interesting, right smack in the middle of Boston. Or you can go even a step further, get away from those chains and find something even more interesting, like Banks Fish House. You're not going to find that restaurant in any other city. It it specializes in East Coast seafood and local dishes, and it's very in the middle of things on Boylston Street and like that. So I went to an Italian place, very good by the way, Faccia e Faccia, and it was you would like it, Mike, one of these small plate type places, very contemporary versions of Italian dishes, everything very beautifully plated. And you order, like, I think they said 2 or 3 plates per person, but we did 3 or 4 plates per person. And it just sort of comes out as it's ready, and it's a hip, clubby kind of atmosphere. It was very cool. Really great experience.
Well, I was getting ready to say, what as you were describing this in your beginning of your monologue about not going to branded restaurants, or commercialized, I was gonna use Ruth Chris as an example,
Yeah,
along with Red Lobster of ones not to go to, but,
that Ruth's Chris was kind of interesting. And also, there's one in Ocean City, Maryland, outside of Ocean City, Maryland, that is in the 100-year-old barn where Seabiscuit and War Admiral were raised. And you're actually eating in the barn with the paddock doors and all this beautiful artwork and sort of accoutrements having to do with horse raising, and you're looking out on the horse pastures and the rusted paddocks and stuff. It's a golf course now, but the experience of eating there is actually quite special if the menu is a little chainish.
we have a Ruth Chris in Green we have 2 actually, but one is in this old rundown Holiday Inn, and it is the
Oof,
most bland, uh furniture. It looks like it was pulled out of the '80s, and it's kind of a shame that a brand, it's still a respectable brand, but they let that brand go into that hotel, and it's just it's
what's the
uh,
other one like?
the other one's really nice. It's in one of the, tall buildings downtown overlooking the river. I mean, it's
Yeah, I think I've seen it. Yeah.
yeah, I think I may have taken you there once, but, yeah, it's really good. It's a very nice Ruth Chris, but anyhow, um, but while we're on the subject of food and drink, let's talk about a, recent, report that's come out from some flight attendants that, are discussing things not to do on an not to drink on an airplane, excuse me, not to do.
Oh gosh, do we have to?
Yeah.
I'm about to get on a plane Thursday. Wait, let me get a notepad.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you know most of these, but, there are several things that are just not good to drink on a plane, and I'll tell you 1 or 2, and then I'll tell you why, or James can tell you why, but, um, you don't wanna drink anything on an airplane that has to do with tap water. So, if you're in the bathroom and let's say you're brushing your teeth on a transatlantic flight, take bottled water in, or certainly don't rinse your mouth with the water that comes out of the tap. Um, if your flight is using the tap water on the plane to make coffee and tea, certainly do not drink it and only drink bottled water. And I'm a guy who typically is like bottled water, because you can really find, even in large cities, now there's filtration systems and everything's so good. But on an airplane, things are different, right?
Yeah.
Because you have these large tanks that are notoriously grimy, um, that are also very close. The input is often very close of to the output of where the sewer comes out, right? Or the
Oh gosh.
bathroom collection. I know this is not a pleasant story, but hopefully this will resonate. So, you can think of them attaching the hose and pumping water in there, and then right beside it, another hose that has all the sewage coming out. But they found, there was an EPA study done in 2004 of like 150 planes, and they found that 13% contained, coliform, and 2 had dangerous levels of E. coli. So when you're on a plane, don't drink the water, don't drink the coffee, don't drink the tea unless they make it with bottled water. Now, I've seen some flight attendants actually um, make the tea and coffee with bottled water, and that would be fine. It's just if they're using the tap water on the planes, um,
Well, on a big plane, it's hard to do. You need a lot of bottles. So oftentimes they're pulling from those tanks. And I've seen studies to show that those tanks are not cleaned on a regular basis. So, and oh, look, all you have to do is taste the coffee on most flights and you know not to drink it. But it's a good point. I mean, don't basically bring your coffee onto the plane if you can.
one of the other things that I found was a little bit unusual, and I didn't know this one, is they say stay away from Bloody Marys. So, you know, on a morning flight, you'll often see folks, if they're getting ready for their holiday, they're, all excited and spend all this energy getting to the airport and they're all jacked up and they oftentimes have a Bloody Mary. But the flight attendants are saying that's not necessarily a good thing on a flight. And the reason is the very high sodium content. So I don't know if you've ever looked at the back of one of those cans of Bloody Mary mix, but it is really, really high in sodium. Um, and that is leads to dehydration, having too much salt in your system. Also, it can create bloating and it can throw your kidneys out of whack, and it's just not a good way to get your vacation or holiday started.
You already get dehydrated on a plane from the atmosphere and so on. So, um, but that's a shame. I mean, I'm not celebrating a holiday. I'm just sometimes celebrating that it's Tuesday. And
The day ends in Y.
and I really enjoy a Bloody Mary, but again, probably not.
Mm, yeah, but a couple of tips there for our listeners. Um, yeah, one other thing I wanted to share is MasterCard has come out with their top emerging destinations for the summer travel of 2025. And I have to say, there's some surprising contenders on this list. Um, so this is they've done a very comprehensive research panel and did a lot of uh, research into consumer behavior and where people are going. And the first two, the top two destinations are actually in Japan, believe it or not. And I know that's not one of your favorite places to go, James, but
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad saying that, but it isn't.
coming in at number one is Tokyo. Number two is Osaka. So I've been to
I
Tokyo.
will agree with Osaka, very interesting city. And from there, you can go to Kyoto, which I think is the most interesting place in Japan. But I think it's well known. It's not emerging, so it didn't make this list.
Yeah. And then next is Paris. And I was actually in Paris last summer. And I have to say, it was very beautiful. I was there right before the Olympics started. Number four is Shanghai, believe it or not.
Mhm.
So I've been to China a few times, but I haven't been to Shanghai, but I understand it is very colorful. Number five is Palma de Mallorca. So, interesting fact about this is during the summer, the airport in Palma is the busiest airport in Europe. It has more passengers than even Heathrow or Frankfurt or Amsterdam. Um, a lot of charter flights go in there, and it's a beautiful island off the coast of Spain, and it's known for its great weather as well as lots of local produce.
Yeah, beautiful medieval architecture and great uh, old city. Really beautiful.
And then rounding out the top 10 are quite a few. There's quite a few Asian destinations here too. So we've got Seoul, which I love Seoul. It's a great destination. I love Korean food, and maybe that's the thing that really, really gets me excited about Seoul.
Yeah, I don't think Korea gets enough talk, because I've also been to Busan, which I absolutely loved, a kind of riotous commercial city, music everywhere, color everywhere, markets, big stores, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I would go back to Seoul, in a heartbeat. Next is Beijing, which, I haven't been there in many years, but it was not one of my top places to go. It's a lot of interesting history, but, outside of that, it wasn't one of my favorites. Um, and then we have Madrid, which is, I think, one of the great food cities in the world.
And anything in Spain to me is terrific. So great food, great culture, great architecture, great art.
Yeah, Madrid offers a lot, and it's also in comparison to other European cities, a very good value as well. Number 9, which was the only South American entry, is Rio de Janeiro, which is a interesting place if you've never been there.
A tough visit these days, I think, overrun with people and tourists and
You got to be
sometimes a little dangerous.
Yeah, you got to be careful there. A lot of pickpockets. I'm not so sure for your personal safety, other than being robbed or mugged, but which no one would want. But it is a beautiful place. And rounding out the top 10 is one of my favorite cities, Singapore. I love Singapore. It is highly commercialized, I will say that, but the people are very friendly. The cleanest place you'll ever go. Um,
So I've never been, but I have been told, you used to go to London for the tailoring, and then the great center of tailoring moved to Hong Kong, and now apparently is in Singapore.
yeah, I mean, there's plenty of shops. I've had quite a few um, things made in Singapore, and it's an influx of Chinese culture, Malay culture, and Indian culture. And the Indian and Chinese do really well with tailoring for men, for sure. Uh, Not so sure about women, but you can get some unbelievably a nice, nice, beautiful fabric, and you can have suits made in 2 or 3 days, and it's sports coats, whatever it is that you like.
So I have two on this list that I haven't been to yet. I wonder about our listeners out there. How many on that top 10 are still on your bucket list?
Good question. I think I have not been to Osaka is the only one that I've not been to of the top 10.
Osaka is, I don't know why all my stories have to do with restaurants, but Osaka is the place where I went out at night and we're walking down this very busy street. They have like nightclubs, restaurants, and the tradition there is that you can't see into anything from the street. There are tinted windows and curtains that hang down and long draperies across the doorways. So you can't really see what's going on inside. You can't tell if a restaurant is busy, for example, or not. And everything is in Japanese. So walking down the street looking for someplace to eat, and there are menus posted outside, but they're all in Japanese, not too helpful. And then there was one that had a few photos of the food, and we thought, okay, this place looks good. We pulled the drapery across; it was reasonably crowded. We walk in, and only to find out that we missed the horse head um, medallion high up on the top of the building on the outside to indicate that they were they serve horse meat in this particular
Hmm.
restaurant. So
Did you find out after you ate or before?
before, so we didn't actually eat.
No.
I'm adventurous, I really am, but we decided to skip it.
I don't blame you.
I think I would like to hear from our listeners since we're heading into summer. What are their top destinations for summer? They can go to our website or go to our YouTube channel and um, give us some comments right under where you see the episodes. Tell us, where do you think, where have you discovered for the summer? It's either an amazing experience, or it's a great deal, or it's an undiscovered gem. Let's hear from you. Maybe we'll report back in an episode or two about your ideas about the best places to go for the summer.
That's a great idea. Yeah, please provide your feedback. We were just talking right as we were getting ready to record the podcast about the growth that we've had. This podcast has really grown, and we have Nathaniel, our producer, said that our views or listeners, or combination of both, has doubled since the same time last year. So thank you all for tuning in and being loyal subscribers to No Tours Club. We really do appreciate it. And if you do have any feedback or questions, please send those in, and James and I will answer them personally or answer them on air. But we'd love to hear from you.
Mike, always want to pay off the loyalty by giving our listeners some tidbits of advice. So since this is almost like the restaurant episode. We've been talking about restaurants. I've been thinking about something. I've been going in to see some Broadway shows in New York recently. Summer is a great time to do that because the crowds are fewer and you can get tickets to things that are hard to get tickets to. So there are some amazing new shows uh, in town, including Jonathan Groff starring in Just in Time, which is the story of Bobby Darin, and incredible Tony Award winning performance. But it's always a struggle for me to find good places to eat, even though I know New York City like the back of my hand. It's my home. The theater district is not known for its great restaurants, and the good ones that are around are difficult to get in. So I've got two new discoveries. I went to uh, Chaz Palminteri's Italian steakhouse. You may remember Chaz Palminteri is the actor and writer who created A Bronx Tale, which was first a show and then it became a movie. He starred in the movie. He's been in many other things, usually a lot of gangster related stuff. And now he has two restaurants in New York. So one of them is right smack in Times Square, and it was terrific. I mean, high end, beautiful steakhouse and Italian food, beautiful place, really lovely spot. It can sometimes be chaotic to find food in the theater district, and this was a really nice experience. And another one, I had lunch with, someone's going to be a guest of ours soon. Stuart Milan, the president of Riviera Travel and River Cruises, one of the most popular river cruise lines in Europe and now new to the United States. And we had lunch at a French restaurant with a sidewalk, tables and umbrellas, and lovely spot that's been around a long time called Marseille on Ninth Avenue. And I think it's about 47th Street. So right there in the theater district. And again, really nice, beautiful quality food. Sometimes the restaurants in the theater district are very touristy and the food's not very good at all because they figure they have you trapped. But there are some very good options, and those are two new ones for me.
Ah, good tips for those going to New York this summer. Well, I think that wraps it up for us today, James. Um,
Yes, sir.
Certainly enjoyed spending some time with our listeners, and look forward to hearing from you and speaking with you. And don't forget to register for that free giveaway, the beautiful 7-night cruise for two to Alaska, which is the most beautiful cruise I've ever been on. Just awe inspiring. All the vistas and all the things that you get to see, wildlife, and maybe you'll get a chance to do some fishing as well.
And you've only got a few weeks left because we're going to make this drawing around the end of June, beginning of July, um, just in time for 4th of July celebrations. So you've got a couple more weeks to get your entries in.
Yep, very good. Well, until next time, thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.